What up, YouTube? It's Knowledge of Self-Determination. Back at you guys with some more boxing. So today I want to talk about the Gennady Golovkin, the upcoming bout with Gennady Golovkin and Danny Jacobs. Gennady Golovkin is going into this fight as a heavy favorite, and the reason for that is because Gennady Golovkin, in 34 fights, 35 fights, I believe, he has like 32 knockouts. He has an extremely high knockout ratio. Danny Jacobs also has an extremely high knockout ratio. But Danny Jacobs is basically, he's slated to lose this fight because people believe that not only does Gennady Golovkin have the kind of power that could stop him or probably anyone in the middleweight division, it is rumored that Danny Jacobs has a glass chin, a glass jaw. Because Danny Jacobs has been down twice in his career. He was stopped by not Sergio Moore, but he was stopped by Dmitry Pirog, and he was later knocked down, which was more a flash knockdown by Sergio Moore, who he beat twice, actually. In fact, when he got knocked down by Sergio Moore, he had just finished knocking Sergio Moore down like maybe 7-8 seconds before he got knocked down. He got overzealous. He started chasing Sergio Moore down. He came at Sergio Moore with his hands down, and Sergio Moore timed it perfectly because when Danny Jacobs came at him and he was starting to load up his punch, Sergio Moore ducked down and came up and caught him beautifully with a left hook. I mean, he timed it perfectly. Danny Jacobs ran into the punch for the most part. He set himself up for that punch, and it was a flash knockdown. And you could tell as soon as he got it, he wasn't hurt. You could tell he wasn't hurt, but it was a flash knockdown. But let me get back to the Dmitry Pirog fight. Now, he was stopped by Dmitry Pirog. But in my honest opinion, when you watch that fight, Danny Jacobs was not out cold. He got dropped, yes. Dmitry Pirog had some power, and you can tell that the power was a little disturbing to Danny Jacobs because of how he was trying to work around or avoid Dmitry Pirog's power. Who I believe if he was still fighting to this day, I think he'd beat Gennady Golovkin. Simply, in the simple, off of his boxing skill, the ring IQ that he even showed at that point. When he fought Danny Jacobs, I think he only had, 16, 17 fights? You know what I'm saying? He didn't even have that much experience. But the kid's ring IQ looked like it was top notch. Maybe at least at the B level, and the fact that he has some power, Now this is my thing, and again, this is my opinion, but this is based on my experience. Anybody can be hurt with a punch. Anybody can be hurt. Anybody can be hurt to the body. I don't believe in that. Oh, you got a glass body. That's retarded. If you get hit with a carefully placed punch with the right amount of power applied to that punch is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. It doesn't matter what you think about the individual who's getting punched. If you get caught at the right time with the right power, the right amount of force behind the punch, and the right punch, period, it's going to hurt you. Danny Jacobs being dropped by Sergio Moore doesn't mean he has a glass chin. Because look, they fought a second time. He dropped Sergio Moore, 7 times in that fight? Who says Sergio Moore has a glass chin? Well, maybe after that fight you can probably make that argument. But here's a guy who at the time when he fought Danny Jacobs the first time had 28 wins with only 9 knockouts. So this guy was not a knockout artist. But carefully placed punches at the right time can drop and or hurt virtually anyone. Sergio Moore. Now let me go back to Dmitry Pirog. I believe the fight was stopped prematurely. Robert Byrd is I believe, an excellent boxing referee. I believe he is. He does a very good job. He's not a very intrusive referee, which meaning he allows you to fight. He stands back for the most part and just watches you fight for real. I mean, I like the way he referees, and he usually makes pretty good calls. I do not believe he made a good call in the Danny Jacobs fight. I do not believe that. I believe that he counted Danny Jacobs out too fast. I've seen guys get stretched, completely knocked unconscious, and they got at least an 8 count. Danny Jacobs Robert Byrd stopped the count at what, 4 or 5, and Danny Jacobs literally was on the verge. Was on the verge of getting up. He counted as soon as he's at 5, and then he said 5 and waved it off, and Danny Jacobs was in the process of getting up when he got to 5. He pushed him back down, and Danny Jacobs was like, "What are you doing? Like, you didn't even let me get up." Like, I believe the fight was premature. Now, would Danny Jacobs have gone to win the fight? I can't say. I don't have a fucking crystal ball, so I can't predict the probable or eventual future. But I think the fight was stopped prematurely. So we'll never know what will happen in that fight because Dmitry Pirog suffered back injuries and he is no longer an active fighter. And the boxing world has lost out on a great prospect in Dmitry Pirog, unfortunately. Now to Triple G. Now, Triple G, as great of a fighter as he apparently seems to be at the moment, there are a lot of holes in Triple G's defense and or lack thereof. Not saying that Triple G is not a good fighter, because I believe Triple G he is a good fighter. He is a very highly skilled fighter. He has really good fundamentals. He is weak in the defensive arena though, and that has been proven time and time again. He's weak in the defensive area. Like for instance, when he fought Willie Monroe, the Curtis Stevens fight, Curtis Stevens landed some good punches in that fight. I think Curtis Stevens did well in areas and spots. Curtis Stevens stayed too squared up for me. Curtis Stevens was on the defensive way too much as far as I'm concerned. And I think he could have actually done better. Willie Monroe Jr., again, a guy who is not known for having a lot of power or crack in the boxing ring. I think at the time he fought Gennady Golovkin, I'm not sure how many knockouts he had. I think he also only had like 6 to 9 knockouts at the time where he fought Gennady Golovkin. But Willie Monroe Jr. did a lot better in that fight than a lot of guys who actually fought Golovkin did. He quit in the 7th round. He didn't want any more of the punishment because he was getting hit on top of the head and everything. And I'm not knocking Triple G for that. I mean, you duck when he's throwing a punch, you get hit on top of the head. But yeah, Willie Monroe Jr. did good in spots. And Willie Monroe Jr. is a southpaw. He's known for his slick southpaw style, being very elusive in the ring, good footwork, good lateral movement around the ring, utilizing the entire ring, using his jab, and using his hand speed and combinations. But when he stood his ground in the center of the ring and was infighting, was on the inside with Gennady Golovkin, he did excellent work on the inside with Gennady Golovkin. And Gennady Golovkin was landing punches, but because it was on the inside and Gennady Golovkin wasn't getting the extension that he likes to get on his punches, so he can get that snap on it, really get his body behind the punches and get that snap, or get full extension on his jabs and counter rights. He wasn't doing that much damage to Willie Monroe in the center of the ring, and Willie Monroe was doing excellent work. You may say that he wasn't hurting Gennady Golovkin, but I don't care. Gennady Golovkin looked like he was getting hit in the face with golf balls. When you walk out of a fight and your face is bruised up, dog, you were getting smacked in the fucking face. You can say they don't hurt. Bullshit. Those punches hurt. You may have a high tolerance to pain. And I believe Gennady Golovkin, he's physically tough and strong, mentally strong. He has a strong will. He has that will to win. I do believe that about Gennady Golovkin. Those things right there makes him a hard person to beat. It makes him a hard person to fight because it doesn't seem like there's any quit in him. However, you can stifle his forward progress. And it's happened before. Like I said, Willie Monroe Jr., he stood in the middle of the ring. He got dropped twice in the first round. After that, he kind of changed it up a little bit. His corner urged him, man, stop circling on the ropes. Stay off the ropes. Keep your back off the ropes and keep him in the center of the ring. And when he started doing that, he had some very successful moments in the fight when he stood in the middle of the ring and actually went toe-to-toe with Golovkin, beating him to the body, catching him with hooks. And Gennady Golovkin, by the 5th round, he was gassed out because Willie Monroe was making him work harder than he had probably had to work before. He was gassed in that fight, man. He was gassed. For one, Willie Monroe made him miss a lot of punches. He exerted a lot of force on the punches on the inside, but because he couldn't get the extension, he wasn't able to really damage or hurt Willie Monroe the way he wanted. And when Gennady Golovkin cannot do what he wants to do in the ring, which is be totally on offense and have you running from him, whilst getting popped up and lumped up, he gets frustrated. He gets very aggressive. And that, I believe, will be his downfall sometime in the future. Maybe possibly with Danny Jacobs. Because if he allows himself to get too emotional and too amped up and frustrated and he wants to go out there and try to hurt you, he's going to mess up. Because everybody does at some point. You get too aggressive, you start looking for the knockout, that's when you get hurt. And Danny Jacobs has the kind of power that if Gennady Golovkin gets that frustrated in that fight with him, and he comes out in the next round and tries to take Danny Jacobs' head off, Danny Jacobs has the ring savvy and IQ and agility and skill to slip certain punches and catch him at the right moment and hurt him, drop him, and or stop him. I think this is an awesome fight. This is the best fight to date for Gennady Golovkin. I give Willie Monroe props. Give Willie Monroe Jr. props for what he did in that fight with Gennady Golovkin. The fuck? With that fight with Gennady Golovkin. He gets big props from me for that. You know. And also, let's not forget about Kell Brook. Kell Brook being a welterweight going up to the 160-pound division to fight Gennady Golovkin. Kell Brook had awesome moments in that fight when he was stifling Gennady Golovkin's forward progress with the jab. The jab is the key to a lot of things in boxing. I believe that a lot of fighters do not go to Gennady Golovkin's body enough. They do not attack his body enough. Kell Brook was jabbing him to the body, jabbing him to the head, basically just stopping him in his tracks. Had him backing up at times too. And Gennady Golovkin was susceptible to the uppercut from Kell Brook also. Kell Brook did some really good work in that fight. He did some excellent work in that fight. But again, Gennady Golovkin is tough. He has the will to win. He doesn't come into a fight to lay down. You know, he is in there to win, and I give him props for that. I give him credit for that. However, this is the first fight with Danny Jacobs where it is actually more close to being a 50-50 fight than any of the other fights that Gennady Golovkin has been involved in. I think Gennady Golovkin is the goods. I think he can fight. But also, in order to show that you are the goods, you have to fight better competition. Danny Jacobs is the first. Willie Monroe Jr. put up a good fight. But who had Willie Monroe beating Gennady Golovkin? Nobody. Who had Curtis Stevens beating Gennady Golovkin? You got dudes with that do not have a lot of punching power, or are smaller than you, or are tomato. I mean, his resume does not support the theory that he is the best middleweight of all times. I mean, to compare him to Marvin Hagler at this point in his career is completely absurd, in my opinion. It is absolutely absurd. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say it's completely asinine. However, from what he's shown with the level of competition that he's fought, and again, mind you, he was not the underdog in any of those fights. He's not the underdog now against Danny Jacobs. I think that Danny Jacobs has a good chance of winning this fight. I think that Gennady Golovkin, if his chin and his boxing ability is as good as everyone believes, then yes, he will not only beat Danny Jacobs, he'll probably stop him. But to circle back to Danny Jacobs, being dropped by Sergio Mora doesn't mean you have a glass jaw. Being dropped by Dimitri Pirog doesn't mean you have a glass jaw. It doesn't mean that. I mean, look at Andre Ward. He was only dropped twice in his professional career. Once by Darnell Boone, and then in his last fight with Sergey Kovalev. No one says that he has a glass chin. Mayweather's been rocked at least 5 good times. Shane Mosley, twice in the same fight. Man, I can't believe I'm having a brain fart right now. Shane Mosley, DeMarcus Corley. We know that what's his name? Mike Donna rocked him. Zab Judah, and who else? Who else stunned his ass? Pacquiao stunned him in their fight. You know what I'm saying? Does that mean that Mayweather can't take a punch? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that if you get hit by the right person with the right power, with the right punch at the right time. Also, while you're probably slipping or not seeing the punch coming, you're probably going to get hurt by the punch. I'm just saying. You know, people believe that Gennady Golovkin is getting hit on purpose. No, he's not getting hit on purpose. He uses that. He uses that to his advantage. He could be. He could be a sado. He could be a masochistic. He could actually enjoy pain. He could be one of those sick fucks. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm just throwing that out there because you know who the hell knows. However, punches bother him, as we can see when he was fighting Willie Monroe Jr. Everybody who he's fought that has actually landed good punches on him have backed him up or stopped his onslaught. So you're feeling those punches because if he wasn't feeling those punches, he'd be punching through your punches and walking through them. He isn't doing that. When you're landing good shots on Gennady Golovkin, on the chin, body, to the nose, things like that, the places that are the most sensitive a lot of times, the eyes, you're going to stop. You're going to back up because you don't want to take those punches. You know, so look, all I'm saying is nobody is invincible. Nobody is a monster. Nobody is going to breeze through any division in boxing with complete anonymity without being stopped or checked by anyone. This is Gennady Golovkin's biggest test. Before this, think about it. Before Danny Jacobs, Kell Brook was considered Gennady Golovkin's biggest test because of his skill set. Not his size, but because of his skill set. Think about that for a second. A welterweight was your biggest challenge to date. Aside from Danny Jacobs, which now is his biggest test to date. But just think about that. Let that sink into your brains for a second. A welterweight, a smaller guy you stopped within 5 rounds, was your biggest test. That doesn't strike a chord with any of you guys. But anyway, I'm excited for the fight. I want to see the fight. I think it's going to be an excellent fight. I think Danny Jacobs can win. I think he can win. I think he has the tools to win. I think he has everything in his favor to actually win. How he utilizes those attributes is up to him. But at the same time, Gennady Golovkin is a dangerous fight for anybody because of what he has shown so far. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I'm not going to make this video too long. If there's any more that I actually want to add to this, I will just make a separate video and basically explain that in the separate video. But I think Danny Jacobs can win. I think he has everything in his toolbox to win. I do not believe that he has a glass chin, and I do not believe that Gennady Golovkin is invincible because he has shown weakness, he has shown holes in his defense, and he has shown that punches can stop him and back him up. It's all about the punches that you put together and the timing, power, speed of those punches. You know, and I mean, it's all about time and opportunity, basically. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.